Okay, so let's look at where we go with our next step with this future of the issue. We've completed our pre-writing, which was turned in last Friday. And then what we're going to be working on now is, okay, so how do I put all of these boxes that I gathered my information and put my own thoughts and kind of work through my ideas, how do I put them together into some kind of final format? So I want to do a couple of things. First, I want to have you look at an exercise that I've put out there for you called sentence starters. And what I've done is I've put together 9 different ways that you can use the research incorporated into a sentence template. And this should help some of you who are finding difficulty, like, how do I turn this information into something I can use or something I can write about it, or what's an effective way of presenting the information. And so what I've got are 9 different patterns that you can use that call on you to incorporate research in many of the sentences, but also call on you to find an effective way of saying it. Okay, so you'll notice, for example, that I included inside of this little spots where you can include tags. Okay, so let me highlight that for you. So you've got tags in there. You've got examples of places where you can compare and contrast. Okay, you've got examples of places where you can identify different opinions that people have, but these are meant as a help to you. They're not meant for you to use exactly. They are meant for you to kind of get started with your writing ideas and help with your flow. Now, one thing I want to point out is that the size of the blank that I've left has absolutely nothing to do with the amount of wording that I want put in the blanks. It may be as little as a single word. It may be as long as a long phrase that goes into that. And so don't let the length of the blank be an indication for you of how much space you have to write your information. This is meant as a template for you. So please use it as you are able to. The next thing we have is going to be taking a look at what an example looks like. And I want to point out a couple of things that are kind of required for the paper. One of them is to remember that we're still doing the heading, we're still doing the header, we're still doing a title. Everything is still double spaced, okay? So we're still following that MLA guideline for how to write these types of papers, okay? Now, 2 features that I'm adding into this assignment are, number 1, I want you to include 2 charts or graphs or diagrams, okay, into this paper, all right? And the way we do that is by, in the course of our text, okay, let me make this a little bigger for you, all right? In the course of our text, you'll notice that I use an identifier, figure 1, okay? So in the course of the text, when I'm talking about the figure that I want to use, the chart I want to use, I'll refer to it as figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, figure 4, depending on what I'm talking about. And then I will label that inside my text as well. It'll be figure 1, figure 2, so forth. And then the final feature that I'm looking at is I want to be able to include, just like I did when I was doing my photos and my photo essay, the word source, a colon, okay, and then a label, which would be the name of the place where I got my source. It may be a person's name, it may be the website that published it. In any way, this will point me in my bibliography to where I got my information, okay? So you're going to have at least 2 of those incorporated into your text. Now, as you kind of look at how this is arranged, let me show you like a full example. Okay, here's a paper. Again, this is the one that I'm writing about the gig economy. All right, the future of the gig economy. So you'll see this is that page. I've identified it within my text. All right, as we're working, we're writing. There it is. Okay, see figure 1, that points me here. There is figure 1. Okay, identified there. All right, so make sure that's in place. And then secondarily, as you're doing your writing, you'll notice that there it is again, figure 2 this time. Same setup, source, figure 2, and where I got the source information. I'm spending some time explaining what's on the chart and why it's important. So I'm not just throwing a chart for the sake of throwing a chart. I'm putting a chart in that I think helps deepen the understanding of the essay the way I want my reader to understand it. And then the final thing that I want to point out to you is something I've done where you have a tag, okay, within your sentence, but you may also have, and this is what I want you to include, an internal citation, okay? And the way it works is very simple. In MLA, we're going to use parentheses to designate our citation. And inside those parentheses will go the author's name. If I do not have the author's name, then I will pick the first couple of keywords of the title, okay? And then what I'm going to do at the end of my sentence, I will put that parenthetical, but it will be the final part of my sentence. So my period, which normally would go at the end of the sentence here, instead I'm going to put at the end of the sentence after the citation. Okay. So let's look at an example in a little fuller sense. So here's a sentence. Employee benefits, often largest expenditure for a company, can be reduced and resources spent elsewhere. So I got this information from an author named Rogers. I'm going to put it in parentheses, and then I'm going to pull my period outside. It normally would go here. Instead, I'm going to put it at the end right there. All right. So I want to be able to see that you can do that within this essay, so that should be part of it. And then the rest of it will involve you explaining out. So think about the pre-writing that you did. Those will become, in a way, paragraphs, or at least paragraph parts. You can expand around them using the sentence templates, incorporating your research, talking about your research, but the idea is to get a good look at what the future of this topic might be based upon what's happened to it and with it so far. And then the very last thing that I'm going to work on is I'm going to be creating, at the end of this, a works cited page, okay? And the works cited will be a bibliography, alphabetical listing of the sources that I've used in this paper, including the graphs, okay, as well as the internal citations I've made. Okay, all right. So we'll be working on this paper for the rest of this week. I know it's kind of a choppy week, but use your examples as a guide to help you get through this exercise.